Hi, my name is Pop. I'm making a video called Payroll 2012 Tutorial. This is a follow-up of a prior video called Payroll Tutorial that I made for YouTube. I have about 100 tutorials in YouTube. Most of them are called Ubuntu, and most of them have to do with spreadsheets and how to do Linux. But for some reason or another, I got most of my hits on the payroll one. I am retired, and I had 4 car repair businesses in Texas for 15 years, and I did my own payroll. And I'm going to show you how to do payroll in the United States of America. And I'm going to show you all aspects of it and include on this spreadsheet a method for you to download the spreadsheet if you want to do so, so that you can use the actual spreadsheet itself, so that you can print your own paychecks and keep your own records and pay your own taxes. On this slide here, I have got LibreOffice.org Impress. It's a single slide. It's the only slide I've got. I just read last week on a magazine article, Bloomberg Business Week. They said that slides are kind of on their way out. People are bored with them because everyone goes to sleep during the slide presentation, because they'll have point 1, point 2, slide 3, slide 4, and all like that. And you know what? I just read Moby Dick. I reread it, and Captain Ahab and Starbuck were arguing about the best way to hunt whales, and they concluded that the best technique to use was no technique at all, just to kind of float around on the ocean randomly, and eventually you're going to get the whale. So this is in no particular order here. It's not alphabetical, it's not chronological. You just have to know them. The first thing on here is AFLAC. AFLAC is the insurance company, which is optional, that is employee paid, that pays for the employee's hospital stay, and it's pretty cheap. The employee pays it, and there's a benefit for the employer also. AFLAC, quack quack, the one with a duck. I'm going to show you how to do weekly payroll. Also every other week if you want to. Also twice a month if you want to. Once a month, once a quarter, or even once a year. I recommend with all my heart and soul that you pay your employees weekly, not every other week. You open up several bad cans of worms if you pay every other week. One of them is an overtime can of worms, and the other one is just horrible calculation technique with the IRS. So you don't have to pay hourly. You can pay with bonus. You can pay with salary, but I've got it down here so that you can pay with hourly and overtime. Overtime is over here. I'm going to show you how to print checks, and this spreadsheet will print the check for you. I'll show you how to do all of the deductions, including the electronic funds taxes payroll service, that is the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the withholding for the IRS. I will show you how to do a cash advance in case the employee says, hey, I need $100 till next payday, I'll pay you back $20 a week. I'll show you how to deduct for uniforms that the employee pays for. I'll show you how to do cash reimbursements in case the employee says, I'm out of gas, can you give me $20? You asked me to go get a part, and I'll give you the receipt. And I will show you how to do all of this honestly and correctly according to the rules of the IRS, so that you don't get in trouble. But bear in mind, I bear no responsibility at all for errors in this presentation or in this spreadsheet. You're on your own. Double check my work. I have included a time clock. I'm in Texas, and Texas has unemployment insurance that you have to pay into a fund. It's called the Texas Workforce Commission. Your state probably has something like that. The district attorney may contact you and say, hey, I found your deadbeat dad, and he's got to pay so much a month to the kiddos, and you'll have to write 2 checks. I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to add employees. When you get a new employee, you have to do a W-4 form, and he has to declare whether or not he is married or single and how many deductions he's got. On overtime, we're going to be talking time and a half and stuff like that. That's my only slide. So let's go directly now to the spreadsheet. Here's the spreadsheet. It looks imposing. I will go over every cell and every calculation. The stuff that's in blue is what you put in. That's just the way the spreadsheet works. The stuff that's green, it's calculated for you. It's an automatic calculation. Oh, I forgot to say, if it's a guy's name and stuff, that would be black. But you're going to put in the date, and you're going to put in how many hours, and then once when you hire him, you're going to put in his rate, and this gets calculated out. That's the regular hours and the number of dollars for the first 40 hours, and then overtime based on the amount of overtime and the overtime dollars, and then the total number of dollars, and then if or not there's a bonus, you'll put that in. Let me go over the calculations real quick. It's pretty easy. I'm going to hit F2, and maybe this will enlarge better so that you can see it. If C2, the number of hours he worked, is less than or equal to 40 hours, then C2. In other words, if you got 40 hours, put in 40 hours. If you got 38 hours, put in 38. It'll calculate out 38 hours. If it's more than 40 hours, it's still going to put in 40 hours, okay? Well, in other words, this column E is going to put down the number of hours he worked up to 40 hours, but no more. Then, let me escape this. This calculates out E times his rate. So 8 times 40 is 320. Now over here, you're going to put in the overtime differential. You'll never change that. It's always 1.5. In my industry, I put in overtime rate of 2. And I did that on purpose because 2 really hurts if they miss a day off. In other words, I paid double time for Friday and Saturday. We worked a 10-hour day, so Monday through Thursday was 40 hours. And then Friday and Saturday, well, that's 20 more hours, but it's a double time rate. So if I put down 2 here, and if we worked 60, he made just as much Monday through Thursday as he did Friday and Saturday. So if the guy missed on Tuesday, boy, did it hurt. He lost 2 days' wages. I paid for lunch. I paid all the guys through lunch. And we worked a 60-hour week. It was lots of hard work. But more than likely, you're going to go 1.5. And see, at 1.5, the guy doesn't make as much per week. The overtime calculation here, the hourly overtime calculation, says that, I'm going to hit F2 here, if C2, the number of hours worked, is greater than 40, then C2 minus 40. And that would give you your overtime hours. Otherwise, 0. And then for the overtime dollars, you just have H2, that's the overtime hours, times G2, the overtime rate. And then this column J just adds them all up. Now if you want to give the guy a bonus, that's independent of overtime. It's just the number of dollars you want to give him. Now if you put down that he worked 0, and you want to do this, that would be sort of like a salary, and you would just change this column header. Instead of saying bonus, that's just his salary. You see what I'm saying? That's how you would do that. It's very easy to do. Let me change the bonus back to something reasonable, and let me change his hours back to 60. This guy on line 1, Tony, a fictitious employee, got a total number of dollar hours of 560 plus 50. Now let me move down, and he's got a gross of 610. But he bought Aflac insurance. So Aflac insurance costs him $10. I have this column colored, and that is going to be paid for by the employee. The adjusted gross subtracts Aflac from the gross, and it's now back down to 600 even. This employee has told you when he came on board that he is married and has 2 dependents. There is he a contract employee? No. I put in no there, and I'll show you how that works with a contract employee. His withholding is $31. The way this works is it's an automatic calculation. I'm going to hit F2 and I will show you what's cooking with that. You don't have to know how to do this, by the way. I've done it for you. It's going to do a lookup using index and match, which is sort of like VLOOKUP, and it's going to look up on another chart that if you are married and 2, and if you've got $600, that your withholding is $31. Now, if you'll direct your attention towards the bottom, right down here, I am going to now look that up for you. And this is the chart. And I just copied it from the IRS tables. And here's the dollars in column A, and we're going to find 600. And we're going to go across until we got married and 2, and it looks it up for you. Let me go to the top and show you married and 2. And I got this chart from the IRS publication. I am now going to go Control Alt right arrow again, and here it is. It's called Circular E. You can go online and you can download this, and actually, if you are going to be using this instead of using my spreadsheet, you can just look this up every time and handwrite a check. Let me go down, and I've got to find the right page. Remember now, there are 70,000 pages of this, and I find this unwieldy, and you have to know, well, this thing doesn't have 70,000 pages, but look, it's very complicated, and people are hiring H&R Block, and people are hiring accountants, and they are getting Quicken, and there are 100,000 employees that used to be working for the IRS, but last year the administration just hired 30,000 more, and the whole tax code has stuff in it that is built-in loopholes. That's all the tax code is. It's built-in loopholes for not paying taxes. And then they get up there and posture before the cameras and say such stuff as, yeah, we want to get rid of these loopholes. Well, it's all a big lie. I've got to find the right page, don't I? There's a bunch of charts here. And here we go married, and it's weekly. There's another chart in there that is for bi-weekly, in other words, every other week. And I'm going to go find 600, right? And here's 600. And there it is, married in 2. Somewhere down there. I have to go to the column header and see if that's right. Yeah, married in 2. And then we find 600. See how easy it is to make a mistake? If you make a mistake, you did it wrong, you pay a penalty, you go to jail. I'm going to go back to my chart. I've already done it here. I put it in, and let me now go to the bottom and go back to payroll. And if you change this from married to 2 and single to 0, the figure will change because it looks up. See, the single and 0 guy, he pays a whole lot more. The married with 5 guy, it's not even on the chart. I have a different method of calculation for that. I say it's not on the chart. Let me show you what I mean. In the IRS chart, when you go look it up, the IRS assumes that your married guy is going to make more than your single guy, and they're going to figure it out that the single guy cannot make more than $12.40 a week, and your married guy, that is a good income though, and the married guy, he cannot make more than $13.90 a week. So then they have actually a different method of calculating stuff, and you have to go elsewhere in the book. And you'll use a different chart, and it's a more complicated procedure. And I'll show you how that works also. Okay, let's go back here to married and two. And is he a contract employee? No. What do I mean by that? Well, the employee is going to have deducted from his paycheck $31. That's what gets looked up in the chart. Plus, he's going to get deducted from his paycheck by you $45.90, which consists of nothing more than 7.65% of $600. Those two added together is what comes off of his paycheck. However, you as employer have to give $31, $45.90, and then out of your own pocket you got to come up with $45.90 again, and you're going to give the government $122.80. That is, unless he is a contract employee. If he is a contract employee, I'd put in yes. Ta-da! You don't pay $45.90, but the employee pays an additional $45.90. In this case, the employee pays $45.90 2 times, and that's because he's a contract employee. Now that's what happened with Tim Geithner, the guy that runs the Treasury Department. Let's say he's making $300,000 a year, and so you know that's that's a lot of money. I mean, that's about $20,000 a year that we're talking about right here. And if you do that for 5 years, well, then that means you did not pay the IRS $100,000. And a lot of people slide that way. And then when you get when you get audited, wow, there's a whopping fine, and maybe you got to go to jail or something. In his case, well, they made him the head of the Treasury Department, and so he was forced to pay that back. This is also done by employers who are being dishonest with employees. An employee may approach an employer. I saw this happen many times, and they'll say, "Man, I need more money." And the employer will say, "Well, shoot, I can give you another $50 a week. I'll call you contract. What do you say?" And he gives the guy another $50 a week, but he doesn't tell the guy that he has to be paying that $45.90. That's how that works. I'll show you how to do that EFTPS. Why don't we go ahead and do it now? You go to the website, and it's www.eftps.gov, and you enter in your state. In my case, I put in TX. You hit enter, then you go to payments, and then you put in EIN. That's your number. And you see I got my secret number here. And then you put in your secret PIN number, then you put in your secret password. That logs you in, and then you go to 941, and then you click on federal tax deposit, next, and you got to do it by the 15th. Worry about the weekends, and then you print it, and they take that money right out of your bank account, and it's easy to do. Now I'll show you how to add all this stuff up automatically, and you do it once a month. This spreadsheet does it automatically. Let's keep going. What is the net? The net is the guy had a gross of $610, and then Aflac took out $10. Then he's got an adjusted gross of $600. Then you take out withholding and 7.65. Now you've got $523.10. That's what he would normally get, unless you had given him a cash advance, unless the district attorney told you to give money to his ex-wife and kids, unless you've got uniforms. This stuff comes off after all the taxes have been paid. So let's say this guy had borrowed $100 from you, and you said, sure, okay, I trust you, and you give him $100. Always write a check. Make sure you write a check. That way you have a record, no arguments. And then he agrees $20 a week for 5 weeks. So here's your $20. And that's coming off. And the district attorney had written you a letter that says, this guy owes $15 a week. And then you've got uniforms in your industry perhaps, and that's $15 a week. And here it is. It comes off he gets a net check of $473.10. This is going to be the check number on your pre-printed computerized checks. You just take the next blank computerized check, and you get the check number and type it in there. This is what you're going to be sending to the Texas Workforce Commission. In my case, it was 7.7%. That's called your experience rate, depending on how many people you fire and stuff like that. So you're going to be paying them $24.64. Usually that's paid quarterly. Here's this gas business. Now this is off books. I really don't know how to handle stuff like this. Normally you would add up all of your receipts and then write yourself a check and say this was a business expense, pre-tax dollars. I know a lot of businesses do this illegally. The employee will come in and he'll say, man, you wanted me to go get a part. I need $20 for gas. So you give him a $20 bill, and he goes and gets gas, and then he gives you the receipt back, and then you write yourself a check. I don't know. That's a gray area. I just do not know whether or not you're supposed to be paying IRS on that, because, is that wages or is that not wages? Well, $20 probably not. But where do you draw the line? They are now going after waitresses' tips, are they not? And it is common practice, at least in Texas, for most employees at restaurants and car repair facilities to get about half of their money off the books, if not all of it. I mean, there are millions and millions and millions of illegal people in the country, and they're just getting cash. I don't know how they all do this. So here is your real cost for the employee. And this is how much you're getting back from Aflac, because they give you a little bit of money. That's what you're saving, see. Okay, over here, this is an alternate method for computing taxes. And this method for computing taxes is also in that Circular E. And the method is very, very, very complicated, but it will allow you to pay employees every other week. This method that I've showed you right here is weekly and weekly only, and that's it. But if you go to bi-weekly, you're opening up a can of worms. I'll show you why. If you pay overtime, and you have to, over 40 hours, you are required by law to pay overtime based on a 7-day stretch. So 7 times 24 is 168 hours. Let's say, for instance, you pay every 2 weeks and the guy did overtime both of those weeks. Or let's say he did overtime the first week but not the second. Think about it. The first week he worked 60. And you say to yourself, I don't want to pay this guy any overtime. So the second week he works 20. So 60 and 20 is 80. That's 40 hours a week averaged out. So you're saying, oh, I don't pay him any overtime. It doesn't work that way. You got to pay overtime for the first week, if there is any. And then on the second week, you got to pay overtime if there is any. And then you keep them in separate registers. And it's very complicated. So I guess it's time to bring up a little time chart. This is very simple. Here you got 3 fictitious employees, and you just put this on the bulletin board with a thumbtack, okay? And the way this thing works with a date, see the blue one right here? I put in 8/20. Let's just put in some date, 9/1. Watch what happens in row 6, Tuesday. As soon as I hit enter, it goes 9-2. And that's because it'll say whatever's in B1, add 1 to it. And as you go down, that would be add 2 to it, add 3 to it, add 4 to it, add 5 to it, and you just put this up on the wall if you want to, print it, and the employee will put in, I got here at 8 and I left at 5, and then you'll add it up, and so on. Now if you want to get more complicated than that, yes you can. Let me open up another one. This one's a lot more complicated. This is in, out for lunch, back in after lunch, out going home, and it calculates the number of hours. Okay, that would be the number of hours for week 1, and it divides it up into regular hours and overtime hours. Go down to week 2. The total number of hours for the week, regular hours, overtime hours, and then the 2-week period, regular hours, overtime hours. Do you see what I'm saying about a can of worms? I mean, talk about arguments, talk about potential screw-ups. It is so complicated. I advise everybody, stick with weekly payroll. Going back to this now, let's write a check. I'm going to just grab this guy, and I'm going to go to cell A2, and I'm going to hit Shift, Control, right arrow, and that's picked up everything up to the very first blank cell. Control C, copy. Now at the very bottom I've got a thing down here called check, and this is my check, and I'm going to go back to A2 in this one, and I'm going to hit Control V, paste, and it says you want to paste over stuff. Yep, and there we are. And this is going to be homeboy's paycheck. Not only is it a great paycheck, but it also is going to show all his stuff, and he's going to have that as his stub. When you get pre-printed pay checks at the office supply store, it's going to show your bank, and it's going to show your check number and your routing number and all like that there. And let me go to page preview. I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it would look like on a blank piece of paper. That's the check, and he tears it off. There's a dotted line below the check. You sign it over here. Down here is the routing number and the checking account number, and up here it's going to say Chase Bank or whoever your bank is. You can put your phone number up there. That's me. And then here's your fictitious employee, and here's the date. Now I put in the check number, but the check pre-printed number is right here. That's sort of like a belt and suspenders thing, and that's the net amount of the check. But the employee, he knows he made more than that, but down here it's going to show all of the details, infinite details, more than any payroll service, and it's going to show everything. So it's a very good system in that regard. Also, let's say you finish your pay period Friday at 6 o'clock. How much time do you need to prepare payroll and write him a check? You need 30 seconds. That's it. Okay, well, call it a minute. So here's a minute for employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, and I've only got 3 employees here. So that take you 3 minutes to do payroll. All you got to do is go up here and say, yeah, this guy worked 50 hours, print it. This guy says he worked, and you check all this, 48 hours, and this guy worked 38 hours, and then you just print them. You're going to do your adjustments a little bit. If he gets a bonus or something, you'll put that in. And then if or not he's got Aflac, now that's going to be ongoing. So you'll never have to change that. And then you'll never have to change if he got married. Well, if he got married, you'll change it once, and thereon after it changes. The contract thing will never change. The withholding is calculated, so is the 7.65 twice. The amount that you pay once a month is calculated. The cash advance, he's going to be paying that back to you until it's paid up. And then the district attorney stuff, that's ongoing. And then the uniform stuff, that's ongoing. So you never have to mess with this. Now, at the end of the month, you will have to then figure out how much your EFTPS is. And you do this very easy by using the spreadsheet as a flat file database. I'm going to go here to Data, Filter, Auto Filter. That's the simplest one. And here we go. And then I'm going to pick October. So everything is checked, and I'm going to uncheck November. And when I hit OK, it adds all this stuff up, and then I print it. Now, this is really nice because it just shows the dates in October for all employees. And it adds up stuff so that you can look at it as a businessman and see what's going on with your overtime, what's going on with your bonuses. You've got 540 hours of employees working. And that would be this many hours regular time, this many hours overtime, this many hours, this many dollars overtime, this many dollars regular time, and this is the total number of dollars. Now, how much did you give out in bonus altogether? Well, not too much. Let's just go over and look at the rest of it. Gross, Aflac, adjusted gross. It adds up the stuff you tell it to, and this is automatically added up. But here's what you want. This is EFTPS right here. This is what you're going to be putting in EFTPS when you give the money to Uncle Sam. This shows you how much is being paid back on your cash advances. This also provides a record in case the district attorney should audit you. This is how much you're going to be paying your uniform guys every month, some company. And then this is also a record of all of your check numbers. And then once a quarter, you're going to be paying some sum to the Texas Workforce Commission. All right, let me now go down here and show you how this gets added up. This is a trick also. It's not sum. You use subtotal. Use subtotal because subtotal is superior to sum in one regard. If you use some subtotal, it'll add up the stuff that's showing. And you see, I told it to ignore November. So I've got rows 1 through 13, and it skips everything until 26. And then row 27 is what shows all of my subtotals. Had I used sum, even though the other rows are not showing, it would have added them in here, and that's not what I want. I want to add up only October. Okay, so let's go back here and let's put in a month now, and I'll show you how to add new months. First of all, let's go to data. I had to briefly stop the recording, and I'm picking it back up again. I wanted to show you how you could add in additional rows and print additional checks. Here I am at the end of it, and there is a blank line, and I'm going to put in 3. You could put in the whole year at once if you wanted to. Insert row, and then we're going to copy all of the employees. I'll go down, down, and then shift control right arrow, right arrow, right arrow, right arrow till I get everything, and then control C copy, and then down arrow, down arrow, down arrow, control V paste, and there they are. Now all I got to do is change the dates. 12/1. It's pretty easy. 12/1, 12/1, and then you see how quick it goes. And then the guy's hours are going to be a little bit different each week, and pretty much that's all you got to do, unless there's a bonus that changes from week to week. Here's a $40 bonus, $10 bonus, $50 bonus. And if he adds in Aflac, well, you'd add that in, right? And then if he gets married or divorced or gets another dependent, you would change that. And then it calculates your withholding automatically. And it calculates the EFTPS and so on and so on. When you do your filters, I wanted to show you that you can do your filters in a more sophisticated manner. I use this simple filter where it says auto filter, but you can use a standard filter where you go in like this and you put in field name. What is it? Date. You put in date is equal to or greater than 9/1, and date is less than 10/1, and then you hit OK, and it'll just show you that 1 month. If you want to do 3 months, it'll show you 3 months. That's how you do your EF, electronic funds transfer payroll service. Now, I am next going to show you how to do the taxes using the alternate tables. These alternate tables are used so that you can pay every other week, and also you can pay larger sums, because some people are going to have employees that make, $3,000, $4,000 a month, and these tables that I have been using, they end at a certain dollar figure, and these other tables do not. So let's go over to the I have to open it one sec. It's here at the bottom, publication 15, and I've got them here: weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, and then annually. It's based on this one, annually. What you do is you go single or married, and then you subtract $3,800 per deduction, and then you use this extremely complicated formula. Now, annual, hardly anybody gets paid annually, but it's based on that, and then you go semi-annual, quarterly. Let me go all the way back down to weekly. That's the easiest one to work with. And in other words, I took the annual one and it divides everything by 52, and that's what you got here. This is the 10% bracket: 15, 25, 28, 33, and 35. There is an extremely complicated formula for doing this. You'll take your whatever, $600, and you'll find it, and it'll be, here. Okay? And then you'll subtract $41 from it, and then multiply that times 10%, and then add nothing. Okay? Here you would take, let's say it's $800 less 209, multiply it times 15%, and then add 1680 to it. That's how you calculate it. I mean, how could they imagine that anybody could be capable of doing this, and why would they require citizens of the United States to do this? I mean, I know that everybody uses an accountant or H&R Block or TurboTax or Quicken or something like that, but my gracious, that tells me they just don't even care. Well, that opens up the door for the next step. The next step would be for some bright young congressman to come in and say, I really do care. And what we're going to do is we're going to hire an additional, not just 30,000, but an additional 50,000 employees, and we're going to calculate it for you, and we'll just send you a bill, and then that's that. Well, let me go over to the tables themselves here. This is the annual at the bottom, and the one on top is based on the annual depending on what your pay period is. If I put a 1 in here, they're going to be identical. See? But if I put in 4, it chops it into quarters. And if I put in 52, it's weekly. Okay? So there again, here's single, here's married, and then here's your brackets, 10, 15, 25, 28, 33, 35. And it's going to take whatever you're making, and it's going to knock $3,800 a year per dependent from whatever it is you're making, and then it does that very complicated formula, ding dong of the doodah, and then it computes your withholding. But I want to show you something. If you use this method to compute your taxes, you do not get the same answer as if you do the other method. So here I've got married and 2, and the withholding says $42.98. And I'm going to go over to, does it say married and 2? Let me find it. Where's old Fred Farmer here? Now married in, I'll put in married in 2, M2. Withholding here is $45, doing it this manner. Doing it the other manner, you get $42.98. My accountant told me that. He said, yeah, you know, if you got a bunch of employees, you want to do it this way instead of the other way because you save money that way, or they do. Somebody does. It's not a consistent method that the IRS has. Well, I want to show you the extremely complicated formula for doing this. Let me get over so that you can see it. I'm going to enlarge the cell, and I'm going to hit that, and now I'm going to go F2. Whoa, check it out. You've got an if function that wraps around the two alternatives, whether it's S or M, married or single. And again, I am using match because match and index is actually simpler than VLOOKUP. It's more versatile, but boy, you got to get your syntax right. And this way you don't have any mistakes because the formula will work every time, and you know, you won't get off a line or get off a column, and you don't have to use a calculator to do this repeatedly. Well, you wonder why they got Timothy Geithner to do this, and I was wondering, you know, where did they get him? I figured it out. He speaks Chinese. They needed to get somebody who could speak Chinese because, see, learning Chinese is actually easier than doing this. And when he did get tapped for the job, they said, oh my God, didn't you vet this guy? I mean, he screwed up on his own taxes. He's got to pay this stuff back. And they probably said, well, shoot, what are we going to say? Well, we can blame it on someone. How about H&R Block? Did you use H&R Block? Get real. Do you think that guy used H&R Block? I mean, you know, he's making $200,000 or $300,000 a year, but they said, did H&R Block contribute to our campaign? Yeah, no, we better not. How about TurboTax? No, they didn't. They didn't contribute to it. Well, fuck them. Blame it on TurboTax, you know. Maybe the dumbass voters will believe it and will let that slide, and, you know, he'll do all this good work for us and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The guy's probably a nice guy and stuff. The thing is, it's a corrupt system. The whole system is corrupt. It's got to go. And I sure as hell don't want them to hire 50,000 more people and say, we'll do it for you. It's so complicated. No. I want something simple. In fact, if I had my druthers, I would druther that they did it the way they did it when they started the country. Very few people paid taxes. There were almost no taxes. Most people just want to be left alone. Most of the taxes are used for stuff other than running government. They're used for good old boy programs. They're used for under-the-table deals. They're used for subsidies. They're used for friends of the congressman to get their buddies in business. I mean, gracious, most of the money is wasted. You cannot tell me that you believe that they're using this money to good purpose. They're not. 80% of it, 90% of it is down the toilet. And every time they trot out a poor widow in a wheelchair with a leg off, blind in one eye, I'm just not buying it anymore, I mean, they're not using the money for stuff like that. Besides, there are private charities for things like that. What they're now saying is that the people who need it the most because the government has screwed them over so bad that they need it even more now. Well, enough with that. Let me go back and show you some more of this stuff here. Well, I've gone over everything that I can think of in how to do taxes. If you all would like to contact me, I would be very happy to help you with the spreadsheet. My name is Pup, and I thank you very, very much.